Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, even a kidney stone can't stop our Switch 2 hot takes. After Ganon was destroyed, Impa told Link a sleeping spell was cast on Princess Zelda, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society casts a sleeping spell on Zelda with you.
Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as I am always joined, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. Mark, how's it going?
Oh, it's going...
And I mean that sincerely.
Yeah,
I normally don't care.
Yeah. This time you actually want to know.
I actually want to know.
You know, it's going great. I am happy to be back. What a episode to miss, but thank you so much to friend of the show, Connor McCabe, for stepping in for me at the last minute.
Stepping in and stepping up.
Stepping in, stepping up. Yeah, he's not a step
Right, he's not the
host.
step podcast host. He's the
Podcast host that stepped up.
Right.
But yeah, as
Both of us have parents who are still together. I don't know if we can make those jokes.
You're right. Withdrawn.
Joke withdrawn.
Withdrawn.
It's not our joke.
Speaking of which,
yes.
I did have a kidney stone and was able to have it removed. It was like I finished watching the Switch 2 presentation and then at like 7:30 in the morning, I just felt a pain, and I was scheduled to have it taken care of in a couple of weeks, but the kidney stone didn't cooperate. Yeah.
Yes.
Couldn't wait, so I went to the emergency room. But what a time for all of that to be happening.
Right. Well, and Mark, I got it from my perspective. I was watching this direct. I was like in the Discord, and like we're having a good time. And I'm like, all right, cool. Well, I guess I'm gonna start like writing this up. Get a text from you being like, I'm going to the emergency room, and you know, I'm like, I can't really think about a Nintendo Direct as like a completed thing until you and I have discussed it. Right.
Oh, right. Oh, I feel the same way.
And in that moment, I did not know if you had seen the Direct yet.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't lead with that. I should have. It should have been like a telegram. Saw Nintendo Direct. Stop. Headed to emergency room. Stop. And you'd be like, oh, I guess it was that good. It was pretty good. Guess it was that good.
I guess it was good enough to go to the emergency room.
Yeah, to put Mark in the hospital. Yeah.
I think it was like
frail.
The trade-off is worth it.
The trade-off is worth it for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm doing well, still in recovery, and so if I don't laugh as much as I normally do,
yes,
it's because I'm really trying not to, because it hurts when I do. And so if you hear me saying things like, that's funny.
Right.
Or,
you are acknowledging the jokes that, and you know, we've been chatting a little bit ahead of the podcast, because it's been a week now since I've seen Mark, which is normal for most people, but it's hard for me. And I can tell that you are holding your laughs.
I'm trying to hold it in.
You're normally a very generous laugher.
I like to laugh.
It's fun to laugh.
But anyways, so if I seem a little bit more restrained, that is why. I'm trying to keep it in.
You're coming in with a lot of energy, so like I think people will be like, what are you talking about, Mark?
Great.
But so what we're doing today, we're not doing a news episode, kind of because the news is a little bit overwhelming.
Yeah, it's like it does feel like it's there's too much Nintendo stuff.
Right. Yes. So what we're doing today is we're kind of gonna we're going to be talking about this Direct for weeks, right? But we're kind of going to walk back through it and get like Mark's impressions of what were revealed here, and sort of dig further into it. And where we can, we're going to be bringing insights that have been revealed over the last couple days, all of that kind of stuff. That's what this episode is. And then on Thursday, we're going to be doing a classic of the genre for us. What wasn't at this Nintendo Direct? Because well, there was so much stuff here. There was a lot that was missing, right?
Yeah, and I feel like the nature of this Direct specifically, I don't remember it being this way after the Switch Direct. And it must have been, I actually don't know. I feel like after this Direct, there has just continued to be so much information where it's like,
yes,
we didn't talk about this at all. but hey, there are these in the direct, but hey, there's these game key things, and this is how it works. Or in addition to all the stuff we talked about, there's also updates for the eShop. There's also updates for
Okay, well,
like
so
Nintendo Switch on. You know what I mean?
we're getting into substantive discussion about the direct and what is and is not there.
But I guess what I'm
Yeah.
saying is that's why it feels like there's so much Nintendo
Totally,
news.
yes.
Because we went through this long period where we weren't really hearing everything, and now Nintendo's just like dumping it out. And in some ways, it's a problem for them that they're like, oh, we have so much information to share with you.
Totally. Well, and it is also like the difference between like this generation and the previous generation is like when you show us the Switch in action, you show us like what transition from TV to handheld and taking the Joy-Cons off, and that's basically it. Like, right, the thing demonstrates itself very cleanly, but the nature of this thing is like an upgraded device with upgraded games means that we are now suddenly flooded with questions about like, wait, how does this work?
Right. And all of the systems that they introduced on the Nintendo Switch, like Nintendo Switch Online and classic game libraries and all that kind of stuff that they breadcrumbed out before.
Right.
Now it's like, here's a bunch of information about this existing system.
Yes.
Plus, on top of all this new stuff that we want to try to communicate to you.
Yeah, right. And obviously they've not been communicating. We haven't had a direct since June last year, right? So that's why we just have so much to get through. But in the meantime, if you would like to support us, you can head on over to Patreon, patreon.com/Nintendo Cartridge Society, where if you are subscribed at the 8 or 16-bit levels, you'll get access to our once-a-month episodes of miniseries like NCS Arcade.
Yes, and for April's episode of NCS Arcade, we are playing Okami.
Okami!
Originally released on the PlayStation 2, it's a Zelda-like, and I was able to make some progress while I was in the hospital, and I am really excited to talk about this game.
I may need some hospital time because I have not gone back to it for a couple weeks.
Kidney stone?
You cannot. So in any event, yes, we're going to be doing Okami towards the end of this month, and then we have our listener feedback episodes. If you have questions, thoughts, concerns, whatever about Okami, you should email us at Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com, and we will incorporate those emails into a listener feedback episode, which is available for free for everyone who follows us on Patreon, whether you are supporting us with money or not. So if you're not already on the Patreon, get over there, sign up for free, and then you can listen to all those feedback episodes and email us if you're interested in the games that we're talking about.
And we've got to do one of those for Donkey Kong 94.
We do, and we will, but maybe not tonight. I think sometime this week?
Yeah, sounds good.
Great. Do all that. Join our Discord. Email us, Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com, and we will let you in there as all of this news and additional information is spilling out. That's a great place to be discussing it with people who are all plugged in to the minutia of these things. We had a conversation about Hall effect joysticks in the Discord today. So, like, do you know what that is? Do you want to argue about it? Like, we got people for you. So, all right, Mark, let's stop screwing around. Let's talk about this direct. Overall.
Yeah, I feel like the Switch 2 system itself,
yes,
I thought was really impressive.
Yes.
Coming out of the direct, I was not overwhelmed with first-party Nintendo software, which is really what I was hoping / expecting to be. But then, like, you got Mario Kart World, right?
Yes, correct.
Just singular. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Mario Kart World.
First of all, I got to get your reaction to the fact that we are sidestepping numbers here.
Oh, yeah, makes total sense.
Yeah.
Like you had pointed out in the prediction episode, only 2 had ever been
right. Yes.
like numbered.
Yes.
Correct. And they were 7 and 8. But I think this makes total sense. The other thing that I think is so exciting about World is, and I know we're jumping around a little bit, but I think that's just going to be the nature of this episode.
Yeah, 100%.
The thing that's exciting to me about World, I think it looks amazing.
Yeah.
But we had talked about previously this idea that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was the pinnacle of that formula, and to my mind, Smash Ultimate is the pinnacle of that formula.
Yes.
So what do they do next? Can they just do more Mario Kart? And the answer is not really. Like, they're going to reinvent it somehow.
Right.
And I the fact that we're seeing this with Mario Kart World makes me really interested to see what that means for something like Smash Brothers.
Yes, and for something like, I mean, I think the existence of a 3D Donkey Kong sort of maybe implies like we got to wait for a new 3D Mario, but like I think 3D Mario's in the same boat, and I think Zelda's in the same boat, right? Where it's like we got to the pinnacle of a lot of Nintendo's franchises during the Switch 1, and like what happens next has to be different. How will it be different?
Right. And I do think that for Donkey Kong, it's interesting because the rumors
Yep.
what was it, like 2021? I feel like there was like that DK Vine podcast that really went in hard on the fact that maybe it was 22. I think it was but anyways, they went in hard on this like fact that like there is a new Donkey Kong game in development. It's being developed in Japan. And the other part of that rumor was that it's a younger team that is working on it who, like grew up with the Donkey Kong Country games. And so that sensibility, those like characters or whatever, could be incorporated into this game in a way that Nintendo previously had shunned away from like incorporating those like Donkey Kong Country characters into their Donkey Kong games.
Do you want to jump right to Bananza right now and talk about it?
Sure, yeah. But I mean, like, the other part, so that the last part of the rumor was different team. So as far as 3D Mario goes, you can tell I've had a lot of time to think about this stuff.
Yeah.
So as far as like 3D Mario goes, it could be a ways off, or it could still be next year,
right?
Or like because maybe they had two teams working on it. Bananza seems like the base of it is Odyssey adjacent.
Totally,
And so you could have a younger team working on that while you have another team working on the new 3D Mario. I guess what I'm saying is I don't feel like the existence of Bananza, which by the way, that this game exists at all and is real and all that kind of stuff is crazy.
Yeah.
But the existence of Bananza and it releasing this year to me does not mean that we're still like 2 or 3 years out from a 3D Mario.
Well, and so like fascinatingly, Bananza is coming out on July 17th. It's not a launch game, but it's coming out a month after launch, right? Like
happy 70th birthday Disneyland.
Happy 70th birthday Disneyland. Here's a Donkey Kong game. But yeah, I mean, and we have like not dates, but like windows for stuff like a little bit further on. But like there could very easily be a November game that has not been announced yet.
Right, but and that's where like, once when I watched the Direct, my initial takeaway was the system looks really cool. I'm not overwhelmed with first party software like I was hoping to be. But you have Mario Kart Worlds launching.
Yes.
The next month you have Donkey Kong Bonanza, and then you also have Metroid Prime 4, Legends, Pokemon Legends coming sometime. So basically, you are getting what I hoped from them, which is like a heavy hitter,
right?
Once a month, essentially.
Right. Well, and like in addition to that, there
Kirby
are the
Air Riders,
Kirby Air Riders, and I would believe that doesn't come out this year.
I'm willing to. They announced it was. They said it was 2025,
right?
And I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt because it's only from the time the Switch 2 launches, only 6 months. And I remember when everybody said that about Xenoblade Chronicles 2, when the Switch preview, they were like, no way that's coming at the end of 2017. That's getting delayed.
And it did.
And Masahiro Sakurai has been working on this for years because he tricked us all.
It's true. This is the prestige. Watch it be a stealth like launch day game.
Also, it makes me so happy that the game that he has been working on, presumably,
is Air Riders.
I've never played Kirby Air Ride before.
That's not presumable.
Oh, did he confirm it?
No, I mean it's.
I know it said Masahiro Sakurai. I guess what I'm saying is like, I'm assuming he doesn't have a second secret game that he's also been working on. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, sure.
I did Air Riders 4 years ago, and I've been working on. But the reason I am so excited that Sakurai is doing this is because it was so unexpected. I've never played Kirby Air Ride. I don't know if I'm going to like this game at all, but I love that this is what he's been working on.
It's such an odd choice, right? Because like he is obviously, and they are selling this game with his name.
Yeah.
But like he is obviously the Smash guy. Smash is an incredibly high selling game on Switch, right? So like if they made him make another Smash game, it would sell incredibly well on Switch too, right? And then like so there's that column, and then there's like the sort of like rumors, whatever, about like Kid Icarus Uprising or like a remake or a sequel or whatever there, and that this is like this is like the shadow pillar, the thing that no one like thought would be even in the cards here, just is a reality.
And what does it mean for like Sakurai, who has created these massive games? Even
Right.
something like Uprising, is there's so much content crammed into that game. It's such a love letter to Kid Icarus. So the Sakurai who's making this is such a different person than the Sakurai
Yes.
who created Kirby Air Ride back for the GameCube. And so what does it mean for the scope of Air Riders? And honestly, I don't care if it's a big game. There's something nice to me about the idea, even though it doesn't seem like it's his personality at all. I like to think that this is a game that he could not like work himself to death over.
Okay, but he will though, and there are different ways to make a game big, right? And I think Sakurai knows this. So you know the like sort of friction point, or if there is a friction point here with Air Riders, for me, beyond the fact that I'm not really familiar with the original, is that like I know that the original has a reputation of being like a kind of like very easy, like casual racing game. And I'm like, Nintendo's already launching with like a casual racing game. And maybe this implies that what is happening in Mario Kart World is going to be like a little bit more of a hardcore game experience or something like that. Or the fact that it is so open, and we can talk more about the openness of Mario Kart World, that it will be in contrast to perhaps a more arcadey experience in Air Riders, or what. But like if you are presenting these like discrete racing challenges, and then that there are like different wind conditions or like high speed chases or whatever, Sakurai knows how to incentivize you replaying levels, right? Kid Icarus Uprising is a super fun game. It's like 12 levels, something like that, right? It might be longer. Don't quote me on that number, but like the game is built for you to like go back in, chase scores, gather resources, make new weapons, make new boons and stuff like that, and like try these things again. And you know, that's one of the things that I always loved about like Star Fox 64 and like the Star Fox games that really work for me, is that like they're short games, but like you can play them again and again and again and have a different experience, have different priorities, have different goals, different rewards every time.
Yeah, that's true. Also, I feel like with Air Riders, like Kirby is in such a different place.
Yeah.
I feel like than Kirby's ever been with the success of Forgotten Land. And so I would still count Kirby as like a B tier Nintendo franchise, but I think it's the strongest it's ever been. And like I personally, coming out of Forgotten Land, was like really excited about Kirby. Then the remake of Return to Dreamland or whatever it was,
Which you bought but never turned on.
I turned on once,
Okay,
and my
great.
husband was like, "That looks cute," but I was so bored by the first level. I was like, and you know, it's like, oh right, this is the Kirby stuff that I'm not that interested in. But if like Air Riders, I guess what I'm saying is if Air Riders captures more of what I liked about Forgotten Land, and so maybe it won't be, because Forgotten Land was still a pretty easy game, but it was so
Sure.
like charming, and there were so many different aspects to it that like existing in a similar world with Kirby Air Riders could be fun.
I
And
agree.
I don't think it necessarily relegates the game to being like baby's first racer just because it's a sequel to Kirby Air Ride, a game I've never played.
But which you understand its reputation,
Right.
right?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so and Kirby Air Riders is a game that we know virtually nothing about.
Yeah. Yep.
Other than it is presumably coming sometime this year, and that Masahiro Sakurai is directing it.
Yep.
Donkey Kong Bonanza, on the other hand, I don't know if you've gotten a chance to like see any of the Treehouse Live footage, but like they've been demoing the game a lot. They're you know, it doesn't have a huge part in the direct. It's obviously like the thing that we close on, and is like a super effective one more thing, but it doesn't really like the direct at any rate didn't really dive into what the game was. So it's been really interesting to see some of that uh, over the last couple days in Treehouse Live.
Yeah, totally. And it's and watching the Treehouse Live, like there was so much of it that was so like I thought cute.
Yeah.
Like the little rock
Mm-hmm.
like thing that is your companion and you harmonize together to like find your path through the 3D world and like all that kind of stuff. But I still don't feel like I have a very good sense of what is the gameplay of this. What is like I guess yeah, like what is the gameplay? Because it seems harder than to just say, oh, it's a platformer. You know,
Right,
it's a
because
3D
you're
platformer.
destroying the
'Cause
platforms as you go.
yeah,
Right?
it doesn't seem like that really is what it is. And so with even after watching the footage, I don't feel like I'm able to put it into like a really clean box as to
Right.
I understand what this is.
Uh,
It's not a bad thing.
no,
It's
not at all.
just it's that's been the part for like Bananza where I'm like, yeah, like I am academically really interested for this. Can't believe that this Donkey Kong game that has been rumored and that they've kind of been leading
Right.
up to all this time is real. Some of the stuff in it looks really cute and fun and interesting, but I feel a little bit like I did with Tears of the Kingdom, where it's like, I trust that this is going to be really cool,
Right, but I need to get my hands on
but
it.
I don't really understand what's cool about it yet.
Right. Let's talk about Donkey Kong's new look. How do you like Donkey Kong?
Oh, yeah, I'm super into it.
Yeah, me too.
I think the entire world looks really fun.
And he's our boy's wearing clothes now.
In the beginning, we
In
see
the-
we see lots of times in that treehouse footage where he's not wearing clothes,
I just
where he's wearing a tie. But yeah,
but if he can be wearing overalls, he should be, right?
yes, and I didn't know that was something I wanted,
Me neither.
but
Especially because we just had a whole thing about Donkey Kong's butt in
Uh-huh.
Donkey Kong 94.
did you see? I don't know if we want to talk about it or not, but did you see the reports of the image that like Nintendo Korea posted?
Yes, I did. Yeah, let's talk about it here.
Okay.
I mean, like, if you want to be, it'll enter the publicity here at some point. But if you want to not be spoiled for it, skip ahead like a minute.
Right. They had key art that also shows a young Pauline.
Yep, Pauline. So there we go. Like we're hewing close to the Donkey Kong, like original Donkey Kong, like mythos, at least in some capacity.
Well, and also in the treehouse footage, I don't think it was in the game trailer that they showed during the direct. You know, we see keystones from Donkey Kong Country. You see Cranky Kong.
Right.
You see,
see
some of the
Espresso.
animal buddies,
Yeah,
right? And so, yeah, it does seem like an amalgamation
Right, and
of Donkey Kong over the years.
at least one Kong wearing a bikini, right?
right.
Like a sexy lady Kong
yes,
is
although
in there.
not really looking like what
Not
I
looking
imagine
like Candy,
to
no.
look like, especially because Cranky hews so closely to Cranky's like previous designs.
Right, but if we are, and I think we're still within the minute, if that is in fact young Pauline, maybe this is the original Donkey Kong, aka Cranky. So like
I see what you mean.
The babe Donkey Kong that we're seeing is maybe wrinkly, young wrinkly.
Oh yes, and so who is Cranky?
What do you mean? Cranky is Donkey, is what I'm saying.
I know. Then who is the Cranky that we see in the gameplay footage?
Oh, maybe he has his own
maybe
Cranky.
he has his own Cranky.
Right, and there's a missing generation between them as well.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Do you think Donkey? So obviously we didn't see like Diddy Kong right in this trailer. Do you think we will see Diddy and no Dixie either? Right, like
right.
And even the versions of the Kongs that we do see like seem a little bit they're like just designed a little bit differently, right? Do we think we see Diddy, Dixie, or do we think we see Junior?
Oh, interesting. I think if they are incorporating like Cranky and the other country stuff, that I don't think we'll see Donkey Kong Jr.
Okay, all right.
Although it could be cool if they decide to like try to meld it all together.
Yeah, let's see
into
them all.
one kind of like Donkey Kong mythology. But yeah, I would be surprised if Diddy isn't in there in some capacity.
Right. Well, because we also don't see Diddy in Mario Kart World, right?
Right.
We see and we see like every other Mario character in
We
existence.
see a lot of
we
Mario
see a
characters.
lot of Mario characters. But okay, sorry, we are jumping around here. Any further thoughts about Donkey Kong Bonanza? We won't have to wait that long to
No.
actually be playing this game.
And I expect that we'll get either a standalone direct or something that blows out the game way more than what
Yeah,
we've seen so
totally.
far. Should we go back to Mario Kart World?
Let's go back to Mario Kart
Okay.
World. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, a wide open world with lots of interesting like modes and different ways to interact with these like interconnected tracks. Um, and 24 racers were confirmed, including some like truly bizarre character choices. That Moo Moo Cow.
Yeah, I mean, friend of the show, Drew Mackey, brought it up in the Discord, but he was saying, and I agree with him, that, with a game that is promising so many different characters, you would think that it would just the series would continue to evolve into more and more of Nintendo Kart. But it seems like they're going the opposite direction with Mario Kart
yes.
World, where they're like, no, at least from what we've seen, it's all just going to be Mario characters. And that means as on the periphery as we want to be.
Yes, we're gonna get those. We're gonna get a Pokey. We're gonna get snowmen. We're gonna get like a dolphin. Like the most peripheral like Mario enemies mostly. Are rounding out the roster, which and Donkey Kong is part of that. I think he's like grandfathered in and is like kind of related to Mario. But yeah, that means like no Diddy Kong. It means no Link. It means no Animal Crossing. It means no
like Inkling.
Splatoon.
Yeah, exactly. I think this looks incredible.
Yeah.
I think it looks like so much fun. It's another one where like, yeah, I intellectually understand that it is more than just racing but like what does it mean? I can't wait for this like follow-up direction. I'm glad that they gave us a date for it, April 17th, right?
Yes.
Because yeah, now I'm just like, what? It's hard for me to grapple with like, what is the gameplay of this now? Like, you have this free roam mode. Is it going to be? I'm so used to Mario Kart being this like linear experience,
right?
Is this going to be like another Breath of the Wild type experience where we're talking and we're all in the Discord and it's like, did you know that you can find this thing like in this corner of the world? It's like, no, I didn't even know you could go over there.
Are there going to be things to find? Are there going to be missions to be sent on? Are there items? Are there things that you collect? Like, this is all stuff that we don't really know. Will
the whole world be available to you from the moment you turn it on? Or is it something that you unlock? Or is it like a Breath of the Wild hybrid where you can get there, but it's not on the map until you do something?
Right.
Like, I think this is the thing that I didn't know that I wanted from Mario Kart. Like, this is a reinvention that just seems so exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, the people draw like the comparisons to like, and Connor did this as well on last week's episode of like Diddy Kong Racing, where it feels more like a cohesive world, or like the Forza games that like have this like persistent world between the tracks and you can kind of just like drive around. But like, it is I want to see the modern Nintendo application of that, because they've gotten so good at that kind of thing.
Should we talk about the price here? Should we talk about like the $80 MSRP on this thing?
Yeah, so we can talk about that, and then also kind of I want to just like flag that there is a lot of weird misinformation floating around about, and we're just talking about prices in the US. But there's a lot of weird misinformation floating around about like, I've seen people saying like, oh no, it's $80 digital, $90 physical. As far as I can tell, there's no difference between physical and digital pricing
in the US.
In the US,
right.
Yeah. And that they're not selling anything for $90 in the US. 80 is a lot for this game.
Yeah, 80 is a lot. I was surprised when I saw it. Because it was like, wasn't part of the direct. I saw it on like key art later that somebody posted. And I was really surprised. I was really surprised that Nintendo went there, just because I think they are, for something that's not like a collector's edition or anything like that. I think they are the first game company to just price a game regularly at $80, and in the US. Because I know that in Europe, games have had variable pricing for a long time, and it's just something that is now, and in Japan as well. And so it is something that they are now introducing more aggressively to North America or to the US specifically. I don't even know that Canada prices have been like officially announced or cleared up at this
I don't
point.
know either.
But so on the one hand, I'm not surprised that they're more aggressively exploring variable pricing in the US. I'm surprised. Historically, Nintendo was really conservative with game prices, and they were late to raising games to $60.
Mhm.
You know, like basically a generation after everybody else had done it. So for them to be leading here into the $80 space, it's surprising to me.
Right.
I was really surprised.
What's interesting is like $80 then puts it on par with a lot of the Switch 2 editions of games that they're going to be putting out in the next couple months or the couple months after the thing releases. So like and we'll get into all of those in more detail, but like Kirby and the Forgotten Land plus Starcross Worlds, that's going to be an $80 Switch edition. And ditto Super Mario Party Jamboree plus Jamboree TV.
And that's if you haven't bought
That's if you haven't bought them before.
the base game.
Right.
Right.
But the upgrade is $20,
yeah.
which means you're buying a $60 game plus the upgrade, which is like an $80 game. So it kind of to me reads that they're like, this is what this game costs. There will be no maybe there will be, I don't know. But I think they're viewing it as like whatever we would have committed to downloadable content is already in this game. You're just paying the full price package for it, and this is the cost of like a fully featured Nintendo Switch 2 game.
I mean, that is kind of what happened with Tears of the Kingdom, right? It
Absolutely.
was $70 and
Yes.
then there was no DLC.
Right.
It was just like, this is it.
Yep.
So I do agree with you that to me the inherent promise here is that down the line we're not going to ask you for another $20 for additional content.
But maybe they will.
We
don't know.
Maybe they will.
Yeah.
So,
and then of course, sorry, just to tag this with, but if you want to get the bundle, the Switch 2 with Mario Kart World, you can get that for $500 versus $450. So you're effectively getting the game for $50. And Nintendo has not normally been like, especially in recent years, been big on bundling a game and giving you like a big price reduction. You're usually saving like $10 or something, plus whatever they want to value 3 months of Nintendo Switch Online at $4, $3, whatever. Yeah, the fact that this is a like $30 haircut for the game if you get it bundled is pretty big.
Right. This is all assuming that those prices hold, which we don't. It's we're recording this after pre-orders were supposed to go live on Wednesday on April 9th.
Yes.
And then just a few days ago, like literally 2 days after the Switch was revealed, Nintendo said, we're putting pre-orders in the US on hold until later date. And,
Right. And until we figure out how to deal with the tariffs levied by the Trump administration. And, that is... like those happened on the same day, right?
Yeah.
That's when he rolled out his big stupid chart that doesn't make any sense, and starts assessing tariffs kind of mindlessly. But like, so these things are being manufactured in Vietnam, and the effective tariff rate from imported goods from Vietnam is 46%. And so like it's unclear if that would be on like the retail value of it or the wholesale value of it or what. It's also unclear how much stock Nintendo currently has in the States, which wouldn't be subjected to that. So like question marks. And also like, is Trump going to chicken out? Like, is the political pressure going to get to him and like pull back his tariffs? Is he going to be cutting deals or whatever? Like we're in a space that is like economic chaos, more broadly speaking. And that's going to hit the new Nintendo console launch, which sucks, but on a scale that is like, I don't know, everything buying anything kind of sucks right now.
Yeah, and I think that and
it's all Donald Trump's fault, and I think he's bad. Sorry.
But for the like, but you're right. 500. I mean, you're right.
Yeah.
You're totally right.
Right.
And then also $500. Those are the prices we know right now. So that's like, and we can assume that whatever the new prices, whether they change or not, that the bundle will be less than buying. If you buy the two together, then separately. Presumably, I guess it's possible that the bundle becomes like the same. I don't know. It's not even worth speculating because
Right.
we literally have no idea. Not that has stopped us before, but it's just not really worth it. So, um, yes, they are definitely incentivizing the bundle. They've said that the bundle would be limited time through sometime this fall.
Hmm.
So yeah, they're definitely pushing people to the bundle. So I understand why people are upset about $80. It's a lot. It's a lot of money for a
Yeah.
single game. I think Nintendo is illustrated with Donkey Kong Bonanza being announced at $70. That, at least from my opinion, is that we'll see $70 as the new kind of like entry point price. Like, you can expect most Nintendo games to cost $70
Right.
going forward, and then there's going to be exceptions like Mario Kart World that will be $80, and then there will probably be games that are like $60 and maybe even 50. Like, who knows how much of the scale we'll see them use.
And we saw Nintendo really explore the scale, especially in like the latter half of the Switch generation, right? Like we saw everything from 30 up to 70, right? At $10 increments, and that's not even to the games like Snipper Clips or whatever that are $20 or $25 that they also put out these like digital only games. And we've got a couple of those still to discuss around the Switch 2 launch. But yeah, I mean, I am with you in that. Like, I agree. I see why people would rankle against that. I'm just sort of in the like, well, I don't know. That's just the world that we're in right now. Like, things are stuff's expensive. And I what do you make of the console price? Are you
I think 450 makes complete sense,
right?
especially because they've said they're going to continue to sell the OLED, the Lite, and the standard Switch.
Yeah.
So I wasn't surprised at all at the console. I actually think 450 for the upgrade that they're offering. I don't know. It doesn't bother me that
No, it
much.
feels pretty fair and right.
I feel like it's kind of I think I don't know. I think it's kind of disingenuous in a lot of the articles that I've read about the Switch 2 to be like, it's a big jump from the cost of the Switch,
Right.
which, like, yeah, I mean, it is, but
Right. When it's the thing where it's like, yeah, this is the new thing, right? This is the new, like, it's going to be a premium thing for as long as it's new. And like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm just like immune to like this sort of like outrage about the new tech thing being expensive, because I'm just like, yeah, I don't know. Isn't it always like?
I know that's the part
And
for me, is it just feels like it's the same cycle that we
yes,
always hear about this kind of stuff. So it's hard to tell if this is just that noise that you hear anytime like a new console launches. I feel like we heard a lot of the same complaints about the PlayStation 5, and the PlayStation 5 has been incredibly successful. I feel like it's also illustrative from Nintendo's point of view that the best-selling Switch continues to be the OLED model.
right.
So I think there's this disconnect currently where people are, I don't know, everybody kind of feels like the economy is in a weird place at this present moment in time,
And it
right?
is. Right.
But it
Right.
hasn't stopped consumer spending on these like big ticket items. People aren't downgrading to the Lite. People
Right.
aren't downgrading. People are not buying a PlayStation 5. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So like what people are saying and what people are doing are these really different things, and so it's difficult to tell like did Nintendo go too far, or
have they not gone too far enough? Right. Like it's definitely one of the things where like as prices of everything goes up, and I go out to dinner and have a drink with my girlfriend and we spend $120, I'm like, well, okay, I just don't go out for 2 meals and I've got like you know what I mean? Like it's really easy to like make cuts other places that aren't like extravagant cuts and have like enough money left over to buy the new Switch.
well, I think that's true. I know that that's not the situation that everybody is in.
Absolutely.
And so,
Yeah.
like, I guess what I'm saying is that it's not that I think $80 games are great and fine, and that we should all be celebrating, like
Sure.
Nintendo's ability to get $20 more out of us every time, we make a purchase of the new Mario Kart game. I guess what I'm saying is that it is complicated. Like, I guess where I push back, and I really feel this way about the Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour, where the discussion around it is like, this should be free, this should be included, and the way I feel about it is like, it could be free, it
Sure.
could be included,
Right.
or you could just not buy it.
Well, see, and this is the crucial part here, is that like any outrage about prices that are $10 too high, right? Which I think is, if Mario Kart World were a $70 title, I don't people would just be like, oh, okay, I guess that's the price of games now. They did it with Tears of the Kingdom. That just means they have a lot of faith in this game, right? And it's a $10 price increase, and that's what just makes people go insane, I guess. I don't know.
I think it's the barrier. It's
Yeah.
that, like, when when first party
That's true.
You know-
it's the thing like that. You're like $80. That's almost 100. 70. That's only 50.
Right. Well, and we're at this point, we're just used to $70 games.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody's excited about the prospect of like everybody getting used to $80 games. But I also think that my hope is that this is an exception, and that, like, it is reserved for these cases that I'm banking on there not being a $20 DLC for Mario Kart World. Right? I'm banking on this being a complete experience that Nintendo is selling me, that I will spend my $80 on, and that they're not going to try to monetize me on later. And that may not turn out to be true. And it may turn out that, like, they have plans to monetize this thing up the wazoo, and that it's really predatory.
But that's so profoundly not the way Nintendo like treats their games after they roll them out, right?
Generally speaking, I think that they try to be fair. Like, reportedly, one of the reasons that they were really not into mobile games is they hated the way the mobile games are monetized.
Right. And they told the I forget the name of the company that developed Regalia Lost, but they told them to like take some of the microtransactions out to like make the game easier to progress through it without throwing money at it.
But I think it's also fair to say that, we may be in, like, entering a world where that is not the way people want these things to be monetized. People are clearly very happy and interested in free-to-play games that they can choose to put money into. And that's just something that Nintendo has really shied away from. So maybe they're completely misreading the moment. I don't have a sense for it. I think it was very bold of them to lead with an $80 game. And I think it's totally possible that they'll regret it. But
only maybe. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is the best-selling game on Switch by a mile, right? And it's kind of like, if what they're trying to do is like fund the other projects and like make it so they can release, like a weird wheelchair basketball game and like a sequel sorta to Donkey Kong 64, and like not have to worry about those games putting up crazy numbers, because like Mario Kart's gonna sell, and if it's selling at $80, then it makes it easier for them to make like other games. I don't know. I don't need to make an argument like defending Nintendo or like saying that any of their decisions are like altruistic or whatever, but I'm just like, I don't know, this makes sense as a business thing to me, and I don't think it's really sincerely pissing off the people who are not going to buy it anyway.
Yeah, I think what people say and what people do are two very different things.
Yes.
And I think that I've seen some, not with a Mario Kart World, an $80 game specifically, but I've seen there's so much talk about the cost of the Switch 2 and the items around the Switch 2, because it is expensive. I mean, if you got everything,
but it's also part of the reason it's going to add up so much is that like they're launching with a bunch of stuff.
Right.
Like when Switch 1 launched, I got my Switch, I got my Pro Controller, I got Zelda, I got 1-2 Switch, and maybe I got a handful of amiibos at that time. But like, and then I bought Snipper Clips, right? And like that was all the first party stuff that I could get. And it's going to be different for this because there's a lot of big ticket items that are just like part of this launch.
Yeah.
And I think this is just going to be a more expensive launch if you want to get everything. But like, you do not have to get everything.
Well, I've seen a lot of comparisons online to like the 3DS, and like, oh, is this like Nintendo pricing the 3DS too high and then having to walk that back in 6 months?
I really don't think so.
I don't either, because from my perspective, a big difference between the 3DS and the Switch 2 is that the 3DS didn't have a very good value proposition. I do think it was priced too high. Like,
Yeah.
I think you could look at it and be like, what is there here really to get excited about? I don't think the 3D was like a very compelling feature like they hoped it would be. The game library was it's not, especially at launch, it's not that it was bad, but it wasn't exciting.
Right.
And then I think you compare that to what they've been able to achieve with the Switch. And I think with the Switch 2, I look at the Switch 2 package, it feels very compelling to me. It feels like I'm getting a good hardware system that is going to run great Nintendo first party games and seemingly a pretty amazing library of third party games. Like, the promise is there.
Yes.
And so the package feels compelling to me in a way that the 3DS never did.
Right. Well, and it's going to be doing so at a price point that is like competitive with a comparable level of like Steam Deck, right? You can get the base Steam Deck for like $300, but that's not going to be as powerful as what the Switch 2 is, right? Like, you have to get a more like a higher spec Steam Deck. I'm a little bit speaking out my butt here because I don't, but I know these things to be true. But like, so I couldn't recommend which Steam Deck to get. But the point is, you'll spend more than $500 if you're doing that.
Yeah, so I do think Nintendo has put together a compelling package. I think that it is like, the timing for the launch is unfortunate in so many different ways. A lot of which were out of their hands. But do I think that they probably wish they had launched in holiday 2024 right now? Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
I think, but also, like, I do think this is in some ways a mess of their own making that they were just really caught unaware for, where, like, the Direct did not include a price itself. The price, like, came out, like, in a press release. Like, I saw it because Wario64 had, tweeted like a press release that included it.
There was no pricing information in the Direct at all for anything.
And my guess is that was for logistical reasons, and that they maybe hadn't even settled on a price, when the time that the Direct was coming together. And so they waited to save it for afterwards.
I mentioned this on Thursday with Connor, but there were so many of the third-party games that said that they were launching along with Switch 2, which June 5th, but like, they didn't even have that information for those trailers and reveals, right? So like, the people who are speaking to camera saying like, and our game is coming out on the same day as Switch 2, they didn't have the information June 5th at that point. So like, there's a lot of information they didn't have while putting together this presentation.
And yet, I think the way that they rolled out that information was super messy, and they left it to other people to disseminate.
Right.
And so they left it up for people's misinterpretations, whether willful or otherwise, because it was so unclear. And they continue to be really hesitant to like lock down details on anything. And
I need a big chart is what I need,
which is a problem.
Yeah.
It's a problem, right? And it goes back. I think
for me, it's a fun hobby. I get to go into Excel and make a fun spreadsheet.
But yeah, I do think they totally botched the messaging on the price, and so I think it's a problem of their own making.
Yes,
but I think that people are like being disingenuous in their reactions to the information that is presented.
Yeah, I agree,
and willfully misreading it.
I said as much in the Discord earlier this week, where it's like, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of like a lot of the negativity that we see out there is because, like, outrage is easier to sell as an easier thumbnail, like
especially like Nintendo outrage.
Our episode will get less attention because we're not going to title this like Nintendo screwed up or like whatever. So yeah, I mean, I think that's just like how you generate like engagement. And I guess like no shade to anyone who's doing that, but like I guess it just feels disingenuous. I think so too. And again, you can be like disappointed that it's as expensive as it is, but like, I don't know what you get out of being mad about it.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I guess it's like, I don't feel like Nintendo has a moral obligation to price their games in a way that you like. but I also don't think that you have a moral obligation to buy the thing. That being said, it is super disappointing when you want something and are excited for something
Totally.
and, like can't afford it or, all that kind of stuff. I'm sympathetic, but I think that it is not a real problem. I don't think it's a real problem.
Totally. And also, like, if you want this thing and you can't afford it, like, wait.
Or maybe Nintendo will lower the price. Maybe they
Right.
did like overstep, and we will see them make adjustments. That is totally possible as well.
Yes. Okay. So that we've covered price, we've covered Mario Kart World. Do you want to just touch briefly on some of these other first party games?
Oh,
You
sure.
mentioned Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. I assume that's a launch.
Yeah, for
Okay,
sure.
okay.
It is for sure. I think they made that clear that was
Okay.
the launch title. Found out more recently that it's going to be $10 in the US. I think I'll buy this out of curiosity, but
Yeah, me too.
it is very strange to me that they decided to make this a paid title.
Right, because especially like as a tour of your Switch,
And seemingly the thing that's going to be like the replacement for 1-2 Switch. Like, here are mini
Yes.
games and things that show off the different features of the Switch, the different like hardware stuff that we've hidden in here. I don't know. It not that it, like there's a bunch of mini games, and the other. It was interesting in the direct to see basically everything confirmed without too much drama, where it's like they didn't even spend that much time on mouse controls. Like they,
Right.
they really weren't like espousing the virtue of mouse controls. They're like, yeah, this thing can also be used as a mouse.
Right. Yeah, and I guess this is like the thing that can show that off. I do. I'm not mad about it, but I do think it's weird that they're charging for this.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it could have been a pack-in,
Right.
and I think that it'll reach way less people because it's not.
Yeah. Well, and so like I am a business owner, right? And we have clients that are like recurring clients that like if they change something about their service that like almost necessarily comes with a change in price. But if someone wants something small or they're like upset and something needs to be changed, I'll frequently have us do it for free because it's like, you know what? It is easier just to keep that client happy. And if it costs me $10, it actually doesn't cost me $10, right? Like
Right.
it cost me whatever it cost me retail, it cost me $5 or wholesale. I mean, and it's just easier to do it. And I'm like, why is Nintendo looking at this the same way and being like, it's just easier for everyone to have this?
And I wonder if they knew what a maelstrom they were going to walk into around pricing, if they would have.
Yeah.
If they would have just been like, okay, it's not worth it for the $10.
That's the thing, is that it's $10.
Yeah.
Like if I were to sell something to one of my clients for $10, I'd be like, here you go.
Right.
I don't need the $10. I'm
Yeah.
happy to have your business otherwise.
Yeah, it feels like for sure this is one that when it wasn't included, it feels silly to me.
Yeah.
But like
It's also such like an inessential experience that I'm like, well, I don't know, pay the $10 or don't. And
or
who
don't.
cares?
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Let's see. Hyrule Warriors: Age of Imprisoning. I don't really have anything to say about this other than it makes sense.
Yep.
This is a title that totally makes sense, but I don't have any interest in after my experience with Age of Calamity.
Right. And I have already stated that this will trick me into buying another Muso game. I do like that they're doing one of these without Link. And maybe he gets in there somehow through time travel.
But you're right.
shenanigans, but-
Without Link, and also, I guess tangentially related to this, Amiibo Live.
Amiibo Live.
A banner day for Amiibo.
I don't know about banner.
You
but
have
we have two new sets of Amiibo.
You have Street Fighter 6 Amiibo coming
right.
out, which is kind of cool to have like these third-party ones that aren't related to Smash Brothers.
Yeah, I agree.
And then you have the not champions from Tears of the Kingdom.
Right, the sages.
The sages from Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, so it's four Amiibo from Tears of the Kingdom and 3 from Street Fighter. I'm buying all 7 of these, but like, and I'm very excited. It still doesn't feel like a banner day. Like all of the so the Street Fighter Amiibo were revealed in the Direct, and the Tears of the Kingdom Amiibo were revealed in the Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom Switch 2 edition, like special trailer that like you had to watch after the Direct. So like they live, but like they are not being forefronted here.
Yeah, but I feel like at this point in Amiibo's life, they weren't really forefront. Like Amiibo.
Sure, yeah.
is what it is, but I think it's, we had no announced amiibo for a while, so that is no
Yes,
longer true.
that
And so it
is
seems
true.
very possible that into the Switch 2's life, we'll just continue to see amiibo.
I want a Donkey Kong Bonanza amiibo.
Right.
And I've
Could that
already
be
expressed
possible?
my desire for a Metroid Prime for Samus in the
Yes.
ruby red
Yes.
suit. Like, I need those amiibo.
Dragon Drive.
Yeah.
I wonder if this at one point was not something for like a Nintendo Switch Sports Plus.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that is totally true because it is all based on like dual mouse controls. And like otherwise, are we going to see anything else that uses dual mouse controls?
Yeah, that is.
Like, why would you?
I hadn't even like do PC games is there a PC game that supports dual mouse control?
I'm gonna say no.
The idea,
but prove me wrong.
Yeah, is I don't know. I thought I like the idea, but this feels like, I think, kind of looks bland, and it feels like
what's going on there? That like, because I think the easy analog to draw here is arms, right? That like arms was using dual Joy-Con like motion controls for like a competitive multiplayer game. But like, and in a way that like the system would not continue to do, just as I don't expect future Nintendo games to use dual mouse controls. But like arms had a personality and like a design aesthetic that it was really sticking to, and the aesthetic of Dragon Drive it is just like kind of cold robots.
Yeah, which is such an interesting choice, because even when they did, what was the name of that downloadable title that was
Flip
like
Wars?
Flip Wars, like that had a like more colorful aesthetic. I don't know. Clearly, a choice was made here that I don't understand.
I just don't really respond to.
Yeah, like it doesn't feel very Nintendo like.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's coming out sometime this summer. I wonder what the price point on this thing is going to be.
I wonder how much of a package it is. Like, is it going to be like a Flip Wars type thing, or is it going to be bigger with different modes, and like I'm assuming it's going to have online play and all that kind of stuff.
Right, but even still, like, is there a campaign? Like,
Right.
what is that? Is it just like an arcade mode? Are we going to see a physical release of this, or is it just like a digital game?
I think they announced it as a digital title.
Okay, well then maybe that maybe sets like expectations for like this is a $30 or $40 release.
And then you had brought it up before, but this idea of these for like Nintendo Switch 2 edition games.
Yes.
That there's like two flavors of this. One flavor is like Mario Party Jamboree plus.
There are arguably like an uncountable number of
yeah,
flavors
you're right.
of this.
You're right.
Yeah.
But there's like Mario Party Jamboree plus Jamboree TV, and this is a version that includes like the base Switch game plus this additional content.
Yes.
And then also like you mentioned Kirby and the Forgotten Land plus Star-Crossed World.
Yep.
These are $80. So it's the base game plus $20.
Yes.
So if you buy the Switch 2 edition new, it is $80. Like, I already own Forgotten Land, so if I buy Star-Crossed World, it's an additional $20.
Right. Well, and also just like a weird thing that I will always point out when Nintendo does it is that the add-on is $19.99, so you're actually overpaying by a penny when you buy the bundle.
Oh, there you go.
Isn't that dumb?
But then there's another flavor of Switch 2 edition games like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom that are more like enhanced versions, not necessarily adding new content.
Right.
But they run at a higher frame rate, and they have HDR and faster load times.
Right.
And those two specifically are included with a Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack subscription.
But as far as we can tell, those are the only ones that are. And otherwise, they're $10 each.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice. And this is available on launch of Switch 2. So, like, if you are jumping into Switch 2 for Mario Kart World, you can revisit one of your, like, older... And I think there are a lot of people that, like, hopped onto, especially Tears of the Kingdom, and we're like, oh, I for whatever reason, I'm not feeling this right now. And, performance issues whatever. Like that's all like relevant hurdles. That maybe it's like a perfect time to like check back in on that and be like, now play through it.
And I think it's cool that they are updating the Nintendo Switch Online app. They're renaming it just like the Nintendo Switch app.
Yep.
And Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom both will have this like new portal
Zelda Notes
that you can go to that has like a navigation that will like point you in the direction of...
there's kind of a lot of stuff in this app. The navigation that'll like help you explore and find things that you haven't checked off on your map, sharing auto build, sharing items, voice memories from Zelda.
This is part of what I feel like when I feel like there's an overwhelming amount of information.
Yes, I agree.
Like, it's just like, they're doing this. They're changing the Nintendo Switch Online,
they're called
classic
classics
libraries
now.
to just be called like Nintendo Classics, Nintendo 64. On the Switch 2, the Nintendo 64 Nintendo Classics app is going to get Rewind.
Yes.
Finally. It's like all of these things that there are so many pieces of information.
Yeah, the Direct is all about fine print, right?
Yeah. I don't really have much more to say about the Switch 2 Edition games.
So the third category is the Metroid Prime 4 and Legends ZA, which are mostly like the Tears of the Kingdom Breath of the Wild, in that they are just like cleaner, better performing versions of them. But Metroid Prime 4 also has mouse controls if you want to use them, and is touting up to 120 frames per second if you're in performance mode, which is first of all a crazy thing to hear Nintendo talk about, but also a crazy thing for a Nintendo console to be able to do.
I don't know what you felt like watching the Direct, but when they went through the basically like tech spec hit list and they were like HDR, 120 frame per second, like all this, my mind flashed to the listener predictions episode that we did beforehand.
Yes,
where
we were like, they're not going to talk about it.
They're not going to do that. That's not Nintendo. And I felt like I was just listening. They were just listing that person's hit list that they had printed out. It's like, oh well, yeah, you nailed that.
Yep. And also, I just want to point out reading and hearing some of the impressions of Metroid Prime 4 at the Switch event in New York, that people who are playing with the mouse controls, so like it's having a Joy-Con in one hand, where you're controlling the stick and firing and all that stuff, and then using the mouse as as you would in a first-person shooter, and that you can switch back to like dual Joy-Con mode just by picking up the right Joy-Con that you've been using as a mouse, and it just instantly goes back to like that control, is pretty spectacular. That it is just you can just do it on the fly like that, and not have to go into a menu and change it.
Yeah, and it was interesting that they were talking about also the fact that that's an option. Developers don't have to do it that way. Right. It's not. Developers could choose to have it be something in the menu you have to switch between, and it feels like that is something that is prevalent through a lot of the Switch 2 stuff, is that developers have choices in how they want to do something. Nintendo, in just a help article or something, explained this new thing called Game Key. What is it exactly called? I wrote it down, but I can't remember what.
Yeah, I think just game keys, right?
They call it Game Key Cards.
Game Key Card,
and it's this thing that they're introducing that instead of buying a box at a store that just has a code in it, it's a physical game card that doesn't. The only thing it has on it is basically an activation. So you put this into your Switch 2, it'll make you download the entire game. You have to download the entirety of the game. But then once it's downloaded and activated, you don't have to connect to the internet to play that game again. You
do need to have the card.
You do need the card. So it's like a split between code in a box,
right,
and having a game cart. But that is an option that now exists for developers.
Right. And it is arguably something that they had been doing already. I mean, I had bought LA Confidential was not on the cart. There was some data on there, but it required you to download a bunch before you could play it. The Metal Gear Solid collection only has the MGX
That's right. I
games on
forgot
it.
they did that.
So like I think this is something that had already really been in play, but now they've got clear language for it. And that language appears on the dang boxes for these things. And so hopefully that like stops people from buying them if that's a problem for them.
GameCube. Coming to Nintendo Switch 2.
Sorry, can I just?
Please.
I want to get your take on it, and I know I've been harsher on Pokemon Legends ZA that we've seen like in trailers that like it like the low resolution and the bad textures and all that kind of stuff, and like really crappy frame rate. We saw maybe 4 seconds of it in the direct, but to my eyes, the Switch 2 edition looks 1,000 times better.
Oh yeah, I would believe that. I didn't really clock anything.
Sure.
But I would 100% believe.
But you were in blinding pain as this was happening, right? Sorry, I am interested in Legends now. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like
I'm gonna get it. Yeah. Let's talk GameCube. Yeah.
GameCube coming to Nintendo Switch Online plus expansion pack exclusive to Switch 2, plus a GameCube controller is coming. Plus, we learned that you can use your old GameCube controllers because they will be compatible with the...
Did we learn that? That's awesome.
Not in the Direct. I think they talked about it afterwards, but there's like a GameCube controller adapter that is compatible with the Switch through like one of the USB ports in the back or something like that.
I think it's 2. I think it plugs into 2 USB ports.
But that same thing will be compatible with the Switch 2.
Makes sense.
So, pretty wild. Honestly, I'm more concerned about getting an order in for a GameCube controller than I am for a Switch 2.
Oh, I simply must. And like, I know you bought 2 Nintendo 64 controllers initially.
I did.
Before selling one to Connor McCabe. GameCube are you gonna go for multiple GameCube controllers?
I don't know. I don't really use the retro controllers that much.
Oh, sure. You're playing handheld mode a lot.
Primarily, yeah. Occasionally, like for a Nintendo 64 game, you're like, the only way to make any sense of this is to play with a Nintendo 64 controller. I don't know that that'll be the case for GameCube, but hey, it's real. And that FCC leak from a few weeks ago that
panning out here.
Somebody nailed as a GameCube controller turned out to be true. Launching with Wind Waker, those games the HD ones are never being released.
Nope, they're dead and gone. I do think that there still is a world where you could release that on Switch 1.
Oh,
and just, I mean, it'll piss everyone off.
Totally.
But,
you could.
You totally
but
could.
Like F-Zero GX was also rumored
to be.
How
weird.
It makes you wonder then if like through a game of telephone, it became they're working on a remake instead of they're working on like it running in an emulator.
Yes,
Nintendo Switch 2.
I mean, it's a sort of the same thing I feel about the Kirby's Air Riders, that like people were seeing hints of a Kirby thing, and we're like, Robobot remake, or, you know?
Oh, sure.
That like that's this it caught up in the same game of telephone. But yeah, I mean, and impossibly cool that Nintendo Switch Online and Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack are not raising prices at all, and that we're getting 3 GameCube games at launch, with another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 interesting GameCube games to come probably over the course of the year.
Yeah, it's really surprising to me that there's no
increase
yet. Yeah, that's really surprising to me. I don't know. Chat. My gosh, they spend so much time talking about game chat.
Yes.
But the reason it didn't come up sooner is because I kind of feel indifferent to it. I think it's a cool feature to have included. I think some of the things that they showed off look like fun, and I think the camera is an interesting idea.
The camera is an interesting wrinkle in that it's like Xbox had introduced like the Kinect in response to like Wii motion controls, right? Like PlayStation was like, we're going to ape this directly. And Xbox was like, we've got a slightly different take on it. And then they sort of like sank their own console by like tying the next one to Kinect 2. And then they're like, forget it, no more Kinect. And now it is a distant memory. And now Nintendo's like, we can kind of use some of that.
I know, like in the Mario Party TV stuff where
it looks like a Kinect feature.
A Kinect feature. And so to have it be both, where it's like, yeah,
Mhm.
you can use it for online chat. I think some of the stuff that they showed, like being able to, for lack of a better term, like they even call it out, like look like a streamer where you're in front of your screen and
Right.
like all that kind of stuff. I think all of that is really cool, and that technically they're able to pull it off is really pretty incredible. And especially if the camera and the microphone in the Switch 2 work as well as they're illustrating, where it is
Right.
like really focusing on you, or if there's multiple people, it's focusing on all four of you, can detect, the four of you, and that it has noise cancellation. Like if all of that works seamlessly and I don't have to think about it, I think that's really cool.
Yes.
I just don't play very many anymore kind of like multiplayer games this way, but maybe this will change that.
Right. Well, and like, there's also sort of like the fantasy of like you're playing your game, I'm playing my game, but we want to like chat while we're doing it.
Right. There was during the PlayStation 4 when I was playing a lot of PlayStation 4
Mhm.
like during the Wii U days, and I would play Bloodborne with a friend, meaning like I would be playing Bloodborne, my friend would be playing Bloodborne, we'd be in voice chat, just like talking to each other, and then occasionally we would meet up to do a boss together, but otherwise we had our own experiences. And
Yes.
that was like a really fun, cool thing. And yeah, like I could totally see doing that with a new Zelda game or Donkey Kong or something,
Right.
where you're having your own experience, you're just hanging out talking, and then maybe you jump in to play Mario Kart World together.
Right. Well, and the thing of it like working kind of exclusively with your friend list is also super appealing. I was playing games with friends this weekend, and again, a lot of this sounds like it's Nintendo catching up with what everyone else has been doing for a long time. But like I was playing Resident Evil 4 because I'm doing it as part of the Super NPC Games Club right now. And my buddy Andrew was like, "Oh, I want to watch you play some of that. Can you do a screen share to my PlayStation?" And I did, and he watched it from his phone on the PlayStation app.
That's
And
cool.
we were chatting through the place, like through the app. Like he was on his phone
Uh-huh.
and I was on my PlayStation. We were just like talking through that. Incredible, right? And that Nintendo is doing that, although we would have to both be on Switches, Switch 2s specifically, is just like good and fun. And then, but like, so the thing that I was saying about it being tied to like your friends list is we also hopped on to play a round of Helldivers, and had also hopped on like Discord, right? So three of us were playing, waiting for the fourth friend to show up, and we're all chatting in Discord. Somebody comes on and joins our because it's a four-person game, right? So we're running around, three people in Helldivers. Suddenly, there's like a new person on there. They have their mic on. They're trying to talk. We're talking in like a different app, and it's just like, now this is weird, and we want to like hop back into the chat in the game to be like, hey, we're like comms off, but like it really just sounds like his mom's talking to him in the background or whatever, and that's not going to be an issue here because you're not going to get strangers comms in this. It's just your friends and like those chat rooms that you open.
So if they can make this seamless
Yeah.
and fun, which it looks like they're trying to do, I think this could be really cool. I like the third party cameras they're beginning to show up, like one from
Hori, the piranha plant,
that's like the piranha plant one. That's super fun. I saw somebody had created a mock-up of one that's like Lakitu, like in Mario 64.
Yeah, I mean, call me when you get the green Game Boy camera, right?
Yeah, I mean like the those I think are fun, but
I also think it is just a webcam. Like
seemingly, yeah.
that like you could use an existing USB-C webcam.
So yeah, I think this is cool. But and it's different from what people thought it was. Like I think people knew it
Yes.
was going to be something social, but it's not like the Nintendo Switch Online playtest or anything.
Right, yes.
It's a system game chat that's available all the time.
And neither is it like social media, right? It
right.
is. It's not. This is not a Miiverse substitute. This is like directly a game chat thing.
They're also bringing back Game Share,
Yes.
which is very cool.
Yes.
So local share for up to 3 other systems, can be Switch 1 or Switch 2. Am I crazier? Like, can you share Switch 2 games with a original Switch?
If you are on Switch 2, you can share select games with original Switches. Yes.
Yeah. So do you think like Mario Kart World can be shared
No.
with somebody on a Switch.
So it's specific games,
Right.
available via software update. They're starting with 51 worldwide Clubhouse games, 51 worldwide classics, and then the rest of the games that they have listed are Switch 1 games, and then they say that it's planned for select Switch 2 exclusive games. So
right, but it could be Mario Kart World.
Could
We
be
don't know.
World, yeah.
Okay. But sorry. So I guess my question is, let's say Donkey Kong Bonanza
Yeah.
has a multiplayer feature. It's a Switch 2 exclusive. Am I able to game share that down to Switch consoles?
Oh, no.
Okay.
I'd say no, because I don't think it probably is streaming, right?
It seems like it'd have to be.
It'd have to be streaming from your console,
They talked about how
because Switch 2 to if you're sharing with Switch 1, you can only do that locally and not over the internet.
Not over the internet. Right. Because they talked about how they use the head start they had on the Wii U game streaming stuff to like figure out how to do this.
Yeah, sure.
Anyways, I don't know. This is cool to me. I think this is great.
Yep.
And a version of this had existed before in download play, but this seems so much better.
Mm-hmm. And I appreciate that we stopped to talk about that. We don't have to like detail every bullet point here. We've been going for an hour and 15 minutes, and so like if you have reactions to stuff, Mark, let's talk about it.
Yeah. Really, I guess like the partner showcase stuff is the next that is like the most interesting to me.
Yeah, I think we've hit on a lot of this other stuff. What from the third parties were you interested in here, Mark?
Well, I don't know that I'll play all of this, but cool to see Elden Ring show up.
Yep.
Cool to see Cyberpunk be a launch title. Final Fantasy VII Remake is finally confirmed and coming sometime this year.
And also that they're teasing that like the rest of the Final Fantasy VII Remake project will appear.
Yeah.
Like is Rebirth coming to this thing?
Seemingly. And will the third game launch on Switch 2 day and date with the PlayStation 5 version?
I will still play it on my PlayStation 5, I think.
But yeah, like Street Fighter 6 seeing Demon X Machina get a sequel.
Pretty funny.
Confirmation that Madden will be on this is interesting to me because EA had been consistently releasing the FIFA and then FC games, but to have Madden is interesting.
Confirmation that Hollow Knight Silksong exists.
Yeah, we'll see if it comes out in 2025. Borderlands 4, I don't know. I think the interesting part to me is not necessarily like any of these specific games because I don't know how many of them that I will actually end up playing, but this seems like a really impressive showing for third parties in a way that, we've joked before that like the launch of the Wii U, third parties showed up, but hesitantly and with like the crappiest versions of the games that you could possibly buy. And it seems like that is not the case here.
Yeah, I mean, I do like, I don't really know what to make of the Street Fighter 6 release. So it has the like stupidest name of year 1 through 2 edition
Reboot Camp.
Yeah, I mean basically, and it includes all of the downloadable characters from the first 2 seasons, which is 8 characters total, which is not nothing. Like those characters cost a lot of money to buy individually or even buy those like 2 season passes. So like it's a lot. There are a lot of characters that they're showing off here. It has like exclusive modes, which they showed like Joy-Con 2s moving around. So like who knows what crap that is. But it's Street Fighter 6.
Right, it's not a port of Street Fighter 2. I think like
yes, that's the huge difference.
Yeah,
yes,
I mean like I feel like the difference is that, and I believe that Switch 2 games, third-party versions, are going to be compromised. They're not going to be the best versions in a lot of instances. Like I know that to be true.
But that's also true of like the versions that are running on Steam Deck as well.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, but what this feels to me that is different from the first Switch, like games like Witcher 3 would come on the first Switch and it's like, wow, that's a miracle that this is running. How cool that this is happening. The same with like Doom and Doom Eternal.
Right.
It no longer feels like a miracle that these are happening. It feels like it could be a regular occurrence.
Yeah.
Then Nintendo Switch 2 will get like feature parity versions of these games potentially on launch day going forward.
I mean, I guess it really comes down to like the next big games from these third party. Like, does Final Fantasy 17 or 7 Remake Part 3 or like Street Fighter 7 or Resident Evil 9, like do these games come out on Switch 2 day and date? fully featured.
And at least for the Square Enix stuff, I believe the answer is yes.
Yeah.
I think that because they've talked about their strategy being
Mhm.
more multi-platform focused, and in Japan, Nintendo went out of their way in Japan to price this. It's still more expensive than the Switch was, but to price this at like a more reasonable price point.
Right.
And I like Nintendo is still aiming for their home market in a way that Sony has kind of given that up, and so it just makes sense for Square Enix to be
Yep.
like, yeah, we're putting all of our games on Switch 2 as well.
Yeah, I mean the presentation. Oh, that was the week before, but that presentation started with Dragon Quest, right?
Right. So yeah,
Dragon Quest 11. That's got to be coming out, or 12 rather.
Oh yeah,
gotta be
Dragon
coming
Quest
out
12, yeah.
on Switch 2.
So yeah, overall, like, I was really impressed. I think that Nintendo tripped over themselves in the way that they released the pricing information, and like because they left it open for misinterpretation.
Totally.
But I don't know. My sense of it is that this is really exciting.
Yeah, that's where I am too. Do you have any reaction to Dusk Bloods?
Oh, really love Bloodborne. Bloodbloods. And I'm not super interested in like a PvP game. I know this has PvE elements, but I just because it's just a time thing, right? It's challenging for me to find time to really play games with other people online. But I think it's really cool that they're getting an exclusive from Software, and I think it's really cool that it's multiplayer focused. And I hope that the investments that they're putting into Nintendo Switch Online to be a more seamless, like, online gaming experience will pay off, because a game like that is going to require it in order to be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. The only other game I think that I want to touch on. Oh, I think I'm going to play Star Wars Outlaws on this thing.
Oh, uh-huh.
So that, but then I also like. We just saw it a little bit in the sizzle reel, but I keep forgetting that Professor Layton and the New World of Steam is coming out.
Right.
I think that's got to be a game that we play, Mark.
I'm guessing that's going to be like a Switch title that also has a Switch 2 edition, maybe. Also, interesting that Ubisoft, like, showed up, but not in a way that they had for, like, they didn't feel like the leader to me.
Yeah.
Whereas in the past, they felt like, we are the leading third party on Switch. We're the ones that on Nintendo consoles. We are the ones that are investing in like a new game.
Here is your Zombie U.
Here's your
Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle.
Yes, and this time, like, they are showing up, but
now with something new.
But I feel like that just points again to the strength of where the Switch 2 is, where it's like,
yeah,
we don't need to really like rope in one developer to make a game to be like, see, third parties like this thing. It's just like,
yes,
third parties can develop for this.
Right. What's interesting, though, is that I feel like they're missing their opportunity to launch their Switch 2 thing.
Ubisoft, you mean?
Ubisoft specifically.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. That, like, Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle, a surprise hit. By the time the sequel rolled around, surprise dud.
Yeah, I think Ubisoft is just a mess right now.
Well,
and maybe Nintendo didn't go searching like after it.
That's a good point. I noticed that like the new Assassin's Creed isn't part of this list,
right? Although rumored to be coming, but not. Yeah, hasn't shown up.
We didn't see it.
Anything
else from the Direct? We also we have like a couple like news items that we wanted to like update on. I don't know if any of this really matters. But go ahead.
I guess the only thing I want to say is, like, for as much. I signed up as soon as I could, and it was before I went to the emergency room.
Right.
I was like in pain, and also signing into Nintendo so I could sign up for the wait list for pre-orders. That
we're going to be watching Nintendo Directs on our deathbeds, aren't we?
Yeah, probably. I mean, that wouldn't be the worst way to go.
No, it would be fine. I'm excited for the new Zelda.
Oh yeah, I guess. Well, we'll talk about it on Thursday. The things that were not there, but not in the Switch. But yeah, like, I signed up for, not in the Direct, but yes, I signed up for the wait list for like the orders through the Nintendo Store.
Right.
As soon as I could.
And I was always like, that's going to be my backup, and I'll try to get it at Best Buy. Now that the pre-orders have been delayed, and like, who knows are we gonna get like a week's notice
Right.
before, or is it gonna be like they're dropping now, or like is Best Buy going to do their pre-orders now anyway and just be like, I don't know, variable pricing if you want to sign up for that,
Right.
that's on you. So yeah, I'm very happy to have this like option.
And I think it's interesting that they're doing it,
I
you
think so
know,
too.
and that they are doing it in a way that is trying to reward people who are like genuinely interested in,
Yeah.
you know, like in Nintendo, like being a Nintendo fan, being an invested Nintendo Switch player. You are rewarded for that, for an opportunity to buy the Switch 2. I wonder if what you're saying about like the Best Buy like doing it anyways won't happen, because I wonder if now Nintendo's rethinking allocation. Like, is one of the things that they're
Yes.
considering is like, okay, we had this many units, or by the time that the tariffs go into effect, we will have this many units in the US.
Right.
How do we reallocate that and have that be like our launch? Or are we going to like launch with that and then bump the price later? Are we going to bump the price now? Are we going, like, what are we going to do? And I wonder if allocation is part of that math. So
Right,
that's part of the
right.
reason why pre-orders are delayed.
Yeah, totally. And you know, it's just a huge ball of uncertainty.
Yeah,
So,
totally. Hopefully we don't have to wait too long for some of that to become clear.
Do you want to touch on any of the stuff that we had tossed into the news segment?
Notable that I feel like, you know, Bill Trinan was asked about eShop Music, and or maybe it was, I also feel like it came up in a interview with one of the like developers of the Switch 2.
Kawamoto.
Yes,
Yeah.
and he said, we're prioritizing having it be a smooth experience.
I'm so interested in that. What is this smooth experience?
Well,
my man?
I think he even called out like when you're scrolling that, you know, it's like loading quickly instead of like buffering all the time, because right now you're looking at coming up, you can load 6 at a time.
Yeah, it's a
and then you have to,
slideshow.
like,
Yeah.
So like I can respect that, you know, if like the eShop experience is better. They do throw in something about like they have trailers now, and that, you know, like it's like, yeah, but like
they've all had trailers.
right. Muting music is also possible.
But also like worth pointing out that and they someone mentions this in the interview that like the Xbox and PlayStation stores don't have shop music.
I know, but that was a differentiator for Nintendo.
Sure,
It's
right.
something that made it unique. You know, it's something that made it different from the others.
Right. But I do think that we spend more time in eShops now than we did back on the Wii and on like 3DS. And it's just like, yeah, like the music is charming. I'm not anti shopping channel music. But I am kind of like, yeah, if I'm really looking around for something or like doing some like browsing, I don't need to have like a chime thing going on for like 20 minutes.
Sure. Yeah. No, I think that's a good point. I also thought it is interesting in the Ask the Developer that they put about the Nintendo Switch, that they talked about different potential names for it, and the, you know, the idea of naming it after the Super Nintendo, calling it the Super Switch, did come up at least one point in discussions. I like that they're doing these Ask the Developers and that they're doing them for third-party games as well.
Yeah.
And I'm interested to see more of those get released to talk about different games in the future. I don't know. I'm generally like, I feel really happy with it. I think Nintendo has some work to do on the pricing side to make it more easily,
or at least
understood.
On their messaging. Yeah.
Their
about
messaging.
the pricing,
Yeah, I think they have work to do on the messaging. But I'm really excited.
And the only other thing that we have in news here is that Luigi's Mansion was added to the Nintendo Music app.
Yeah, for you to not listen to, because for all of Luigi's Mansion's virtues, the music is not like,
I don't know,
a hallmark.
The music in the thing in Luigi's Mansion that makes me laugh harder than anything in any video game ever has is that Luigi hums along to his own music, and he gets scared while he's doing it, and that track is included in the music app.
Oh, that's funny.
I listened to it like as soon as I saw that it was added to the app, and like, man, it's so funny. Like, what a performance from Martinet, like, is really, really, really funny. But yeah, that's it. Mark, let's close this out.
You are right, Patrick. We're going to be talking about stuff from this Direct for the next generation of console. But I'm glad we were able to catch up.
Yes.
And kind of like debrief, because now it feels like we've officially had a Nintendo Direct.
we can let it go. Connor and I covered it in a panic.
You did a great job.
Thank you. And Connor was very gracious to come in, and always love having his perspective on stuff. and now we've done it twice. So what's weird is I feel like I could keep talking about this direct kind of forever.
Yeah, there's just so much to get into, like the minutia. We love getting into the minutia, and so the fact that we can't do it.
There's too
yet,
much minutia.
There's too much. It's overwhelming.
I'm interested in plotting out a calendar for the rest of the year. Weirdly, I still think we don't have anything between now and June 5th.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So like new releases are going to be kind of scant. Thank God we've got NCS Arcade to motivate us to play games like Okami and whatever we're going to do for May. But yeah, it's just such a weird little time right now. And I'm excited to put out build a calendar for us so we know when games are coming, when Switch 2 versions of games are coming, and all that kind of stuff.
And we're just like 9 days away from the next Nintendo Direct.
Yeah. We are, in fact, 9 days away. Today, April 8th, we are 9 days away from the next Nintendo Direct on Mario Kart World. All right, Mark, that's going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Join the Discord. Email us. I'll send you an invitation. Anthony DeLuca made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers saying thank you for listening.